Have you been thinking of launching your own podcast, but not sure where to start? Well, we were in your same position when we started. That's when we found Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout makes podcasting easy. With Buzzsprout, you can launch a professional podcast in no time. In fact, Buzzsprout has already helped over 100,000 people get their podcast launched. With Buzzsprout, you'll get a great looking website, audio players to drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, and tools to promote your episodes, and much, much more. Plus, Buzzsprout publishes new blog posts, YouTube videos, and podcast episodes on a weekly basis to help you become a better podcaster. So if you're ready to start your own podcast, just click the link in the show notes and receive a $20 Amazon gift card for signing up. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you, and it also supports our show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start your podcast. Thanks.
Right. And so I was really being led to help him. So I coached him on how to get a job, how to keep a job. I told him, I said, you're going to get one opportunity. And if you don't, I redid his resume. I coached him on how to interview, what to wear to an interview, what to wear to work. And, just different things to get him prepared for professional interviews and to be able to go out. Well, he ended up actually getting hired by one of our toughest clients, and she didn't play. And when he went in for an interview, it was actually supposed to be for a long-term position, but she wanted to hire him permanently. And I was just like, wow. And come to find out, he had been looking for jobs for about two and a half years. And he was like, I just wanted to come in and thank you because, no one had helped me and I just couldn't find a job. And I just been going through this. I was getting desperate. And the lady told me you could help me. And I was just like.
And here we go. You're listening to the Kings Can Move On podcast with your hosts, Jason Stewart and Frank Rainer.
What up, world? Welcome to the Kings Can Move On podcast, aka the Slash podcast. Hey, you got your co-host right here, Frank the Tank, aka Big Reno in the house, aka my kid's daddy, who my daughter just bombed, who just killed it on softball today. What's up?
And what's up with it? It's your boy Jay, aka Wood, in the house. Kings Can Move On podcast, y'all. Before I even get started, if you're listening to this or watching this, you need to hit that subscribe button and follow and do everything we need you to do on Apple, Spotify, Google. Please, need your support. With that, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Farron just finished her softball, high school softball game today. They won 8-5. I thought they were going to lose it, but hey, man, they pulled it out. Play again tomorrow. She just had a soccer tournament this weekend where they won. They went 3-0, got to the championship game. Championship game was tied 1-1 at the end of regulation. It was place kicks, and they ended up falling short. They lost place kicks 5-3. But man, I can't be more prouder than seeing these girls grow, these young ladies grow, man. I just truly enjoy every minute of watching them grow. I've seen a lot of these girls I've known since kindergarten, and just love watching their progress, man.
It's a blessing, bro. It's a blessing to be a part of their lives and watching them mature and grow. And
let's talk about you real quick.
No, I'm gonna get to that. But speaking of,
all right.
Speaking of watching young ladies grow and our young people grow, we have a guest tonight that actually specializes in working with high school and college students transitioning to the workforce. So I'd like to introduce our guest tonight, Miss Juanita Hines.
Woo!
Hello.
Hey, Miss Juanita, how you doing?
I am wonderful, doing wonderful.
Do you make them young kids call you Miss Juanita? You could let them call you by your first name.
They call me, they call me Miss Hines or Miss Juanita, Miss, or sometimes they just say Miss.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you let them call you by your first name. We all equal up in this damn world. You say, hey.
Ain't no kids equal to no, we ain't doing that.
Oh Lord, here we go with this old.
We ain't doing that. We doing
that's
that.
slavery shit, man. That's slavery.
As for me and my house.
Yeah. Tell them. Respect mine. Put respect on my name, youngster.
Respect on my neck.
Respect on that.
I ain't gonna say it no more.
That's Mr. Yeah. Are we finished? Are we done? Respect mine. But anyway, Juanita, thanks for joining the podcast. We really
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's talk about what you do. I just gave a little brief intro. But go ahead and give other people what you actually do in your career.
Absolutely. So I am owner of Regional Consulting. We are a dual focus professional development firm. We work with both students as well as professionals. On the student level, we partner with high schools and colleges to train students on a lot of the things that you're not trained on oftentimes when you graduate from school. So if you think back to when you graduated from high school, were you trained on like salary negotiation, how to network, how to be able to even shift your mindset to be successful in your transitions? Like most of us didn't receive that training, right? Which is also why only 33% of professionals even negotiate their salary as another tidbit. So a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table. And then we also partner with companies to help train and retain staff so they don't have to fire and rehire or lose and overuse. And part of how we do that is we actually empower employees to be more engaged within their careers. And so thinking about their next steps and not just, and oftentimes we just go to work and we just let things happen. And so what I want you to do is be more active in your career, which also helps to enhance the communication process as well as productivity as well. So people are more eager to go to work and they actually, or sometimes they say, hey, this is not for me, because they realize that they're, the only thing we do more than work is sleep. And half of us don't even get to do that as much. And so if you're miserable when you go to work, it's going to come across in every other aspect of your life. And so we help people on that journey.
So Juanita, why do you think that they don't teach this in schools?
Sir, you know what? I have not a clue. First and foremost, I think a lot of schools, I'm not shouting on any schools, any districts, because I do have contracts within the school districts and the partners that we partner with. But a lot of times the schools are focused on educating the students to pass tests. And when you focus on just one aspect of life, as does colleges. Colleges focus on helping students to graduate, as opposed to really equipping them for what's next. And so when you say, okay, look, when we stop focusing on just the fact that you're going to get this degree, then that's when you can start seeing the value. Because when you're going to college, you're not just going to get just an education. That's where you're learning to network, you're learning to build relationships, you're learning to do problem resolution or conflict resolution, roommate issues, those type of things. You're learning all of that. And then you're also having to learn how to be active and manage your own career. Your parents can't do everything for you when you go to college. And so when you change the narrative, that's when you can change the success level and help people to see that value, as opposed to just saying, now I have to spend all this money to just go to college.
So Juanita, what made you get into this career field? How did you get started doing this?
Well, I was actually a recruiter previously. So, and it wasn't by choice. I actually fell into recruiting because I was looking for jobs when I graduated from college. And I was like, okay, I have my degree. Where's my job? And my degree was in public relations and I didn't have any experience. So when I was applying for jobs, I kept hearing most of the same things that I would tell job seekers when I got into my role. You don't have enough experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience if you won't hire me? And so when I fell into recruiting, I realized a lot of the things that we were never taught. And so, whether it was salary negotiation, because I ended up being talking myself into a very low salary when I first started my first job too, because no one taught me how to negotiate salary. And furthermore, when I graduated from college, we never talked about money in thousands of dollars. It was like, you made $15 an hour, you made $12 an hour, right? It's not, And $25,000 sounds like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Turn up, I'm about to be paid. No, that's not. No, that's about $12 an hour. So
listen, I remember when I first moved out of my mom and daddy's house. I was working at a job, and I didn't realize when I first got paid, they were paying me for like 3 weeks pay. And I saw that check at that time, and it's early to mid 90s. And I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm balling. I'm about to move. I'm about to get me an apartment. When I moved out there, and I just realized it for real, that was only like a 2-week salary. And then I had to, and that wasn't for real. I'm like, oh man, these bills are for real hitting. I should have.
But then you get introduced to the partners, FICA, FUTA, SUTA, and all those taxes. You're like, who is that? I don't want FICA.
Why they stealing my shit? They stealing my shit. They didn't work for this. I work for this. Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of what we don't prepare students for, because if you don't prepare them for those transitions, if they're not aware that, oh my gosh, lights cost money, right? Because we always think you just turn the light on and it works, right? We don't think about where the light comes from, or who pays for the light and how much the light bill is, And quick story, my nephew actually stayed with me his senior year of high school. And so I had to come to Jesus with him. And I was like, okay, let me introduce you to some of these bills and let me show you how this works. And so I showed him the mortgage statement. He was like, ooh, okay. This is a mortgage though. I own this, right? And then I'm talking about home ownership. So I'm introducing him to that concept, introducing him to, this is how much the gas bill is, the light bill. This boy at this point, because he used to just, come in the house and turn on lights, and lights were always on. I said, so here's the thing. The more money we pay on bills, the less money that goes to you, right? And what we can do for you. So what can Brown do for you? That was the question, right? So he said, all of a sudden, he would come in the room just turning off lights. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm using that light. Auntie, no, we don't really need this light on. You watching a movie, the TV is on. That's light enough. I was like, are you serious? But when you give them a foundation and help them to understand some of those differences, it makes a world of difference.
Hey, just a quick reminder that if you're liking this podcast, please hit the subscribe and like buttons, and also rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. Thank you. It does. And from a personal standpoint, I can tell you, from going to high school to college, I wasn't prepared. Leaving college, going to work, wasn't prepared. None of that stuff was talked about. It was like, just get out there and figure it out. It wasn't until years later you start thinking about, what's a 401k? What is that about? What is this? What's that? What am I doing here? And it's like, I'm just working. And then you start figuring things out, and you're like, oh, okay, that would have been beneficial years ago if I learned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But backstory, Juanita actually helped me with my resume, like many, many years ago. I was thinking of looking for another job. I was stuck in one job, trying to get out of it, and came across Juanita.
Did he hit on you, Juanita? Did he hit on you? Did he say, hey, you little fine drink of water, you?
That's Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank, okay.
Frank the Tank. We're going streaking.
That's my boy Blue.
Don't encourage him, please. Don't encourage
I'm sorry, if you can't tell, I have seen that movie thousands.
That's a great movie. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. One of the greats. It is one of the greats.
Yes.
And I don't know where I was going with that thought, but
But you know what? Even talking about that's a transition too. So you have to help students understand how to be able to shift to the plethora of influences and things that they will encounter when they go to college. Because like you just said, I wasn't prepared either. And I was the one that I was mesmerized, like, wow, wait, I don't have a curfew. No one tells me when to come home. No one tells me homework. We don't even have homework. Oh, this college thing is easy. And by the end of the first semester, I was like, oh man, I only have one test the entire semester. What I should have been saying is, I only have one test the entire semester. Nobody told me that. So, the whole time I'm like, oh, I don't need to study. I'm good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
big ass
Mm-hmm.
grade. But what I'm wondering, like from your perspective, when you come across students, right, and like you said, a lot of students just being prepared to graduate, right? Now, I was in college a few years ago, finishing up my degree, and we used to have to do like group projects, right? And there would be so many students that I come across that couldn't put together a paragraph, and we're in college. I mean, grammar's horrible.
Mhm.
Um, it's just, and I'm thinking we're at college level, and you can't even write. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering when you encounter these students and they're trying to go from school to work, are you encountering these same issues with students that have trouble actually putting ideas on paper
For
and
real.
articulating themselves? And if so, what are you doing to help these kids out?
For real.
Absolutely. And that's part of that was part of why what was really brought to my remembrance when I actually even started this company. So I was given the vision to start this company about 17 years ago. And so I was spiritually led after I left my job. And when what really reminded me was I had an interview with a young man, and I was in the DMV at the time, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And the young man came in for his interview, and he was just slouching in the seat like he was with his homeboys, chilling, chomping on gum like that, right? And then at one point, he actually answered his cell phone during the interview.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. He during the interview he answered his cell phone.
He did. He answered his cell phone.
Did he say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you, hold on, I'm gonna call you back."
Yeah.
Were you there? Did you see the recording? Did you see the recording? Is that what you saw? Because I felt like I was being punked. I feel like there's a video out there somewhere. I do feel like there's a video. And so, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And so this young man, he came in for an interview, and he was actually referred for one of our clients. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh no.
What kind of job was it?
My Shigo at the time, very prestigious organizations and stuff like that. And so he was just, he was coming in to interview, and I was like, oh no. My Shigo was like, girl, bye. Him, he no ma'am, we cannot work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but and so when that happened, my first instinct was to actually look around the room, because it dawned on me that I was being punked. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, looking for cameras. He was like, why? I was like, because I'm obviously being punked. And he was like, no, I'm here for a real interview. I was like, no, because if you were here for a real interview, you wouldn't be slouching in your seat like you with your homeboys. And so he sat up really straight. And then I said, you wouldn't be chomping on gum. You're not supposed to have gum in your mouth. He took his gum out and spit it in the trash can. And I said, and your cell phone is not even supposed to be on, let alone answering it. Y'all see my sister girl coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, well, I just didn't know. I was like, what you mean you didn't know? Like, I mean, my Shigo was just all up in the conversation, right? And so I was like, you know what? I need to go talk to my boss and tell her what happened. So I went in there. I was like, Sharon, let me tell you what just happened in this interview. And so I told my manager, and I said, so what you want to do, Sharon? She said, Juanita, you do what you think is best.
Okay.
Really, Sharon, because if you said we had to kick him out, that wasn't my fault, right? And so I was really being led to help him. So I coached him on how to get a job, how to keep a job. I told him, I said, you're gonna get one opportunity. And if you don't, I redid his resume. I coached him on how to interview, what to wear to an interview, what to wear to work, and just different things to get him prepared for professional interviews and to be able to go out. Well, he ended up actually getting hired by one of our toughest clients, and she didn't play. And when he went in for an interview, it was actually supposed to be for a long-term position, but she wanted to hire him permanently. And I was just like, wow. And come to find out, he had been looking for jobs for about 2.5 years. And he was like, I just wanted to come in and thank you, because, no one had helped me, and I just couldn't find a job. And I just been going through this. I was getting desperate, and the lady told me you could help me. And I was just like, okay.
Okay, I have a question for you though, Juanita.
Okay.
And I'll say this. I hate the government. I hate corporate America.
Okay.
So with that being said, do you feel like we are putting people in a certain type of bubble when we say, hey, you need to come like this and like this and like this, instead of saying, hey, can this person actually help me in my business?
So first and foremost, to be a business owner, it takes a lot. So I will tell you that because, most business owners know if you don't work, you don't eat. Okay. And it does take a certain level of drive to be able to do that. So I will say business ownership is not for everyone. As is corporate America. I don't say corporate America is for everyone. So and actually, if you look right here, I wrote a book on writing resumes. And part of the reason I did that is because a lot of times people are stuck on what it is that they even want to do. And so what my goal is not to just help to get you a job. I don't want to just get you a job. And I think Jason can probably attest to this, because it's frustrating at the time when you're working with me, because I take you through a grueling process and I ask you a lot of questions, and as does the book, and it asks you a lot of questions, because what my goal is that you will learn more about yourself, and identify what your goals are, what those things are that you want to do, and the type of company that you want to work for. Because here's the thing, I don't want to put you I don't want you to work for every company. I don't want everyone to work for any company, right? I want you to work for a company that's aligned with your values, that's aligned with what you believe in, that you can enjoy going to work and doing those things every day, right? And so when you focus on those things, whether that entails becoming a business owner, or whether that entails being able to go into the corporate space, or even kind of hybrid, there may be opportunities out there, but sometimes you have to get experience, even if you want to be a business owner, before you go in, because that's part of the problem. Is a lot of people are starting businesses and they're not equipped to do it. And that's why a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm a boss. Well, it's more than just being a boss and title and getting a cute purse and some shoes. It's being a boss is, managing your calendar, being able to deal with the conflict you have to deal with, and you still answer to people even if you are a boss. And that's the concept that a lot of people don't understand, because even if you have your own company, somebody buys your product, somebody, right? Or your service, and you answer to somebody, whether you want to admit it or not. Even, Jay-Z, when he was with the NFL and everybody's like, oh my gosh, he, did this for the NFL. Well, guess what? He still has to answer to someone. He answers to the board, or Roger Goodell, or whoever else, that he, artists, they still answer to people. They answer to their record labels, right? And so when
like you said, business owners still do it.
Yeah, business owners, we answer to our clients, right? And so that's why we have to be intentional and understand that relationships are vital to everything that we do. And so when you start focusing on those things, like when you go to college, if you start telling students, it's not just about getting a degree. And I made a post about that on LinkedIn the other day, because a lot of times students think it's just about going to get your degree. No, it's not. You're learning vital skills that can guide you through the rest of your life. And that's what you take away. It's not about going into debt for all of that. And so to answer your question, no, I don't want everyone just going into any company, or in working for just any company to fit in a particular box. I want you to be comfortable in the skin that you're in and in the organization that you're in, and find a company that aligns with whose mission, vision, and values align with where you want to be and what you want to do.
Okay. Cool.
That's good enough for you now, Mr. I hate everything. Everything.
I don't hate everything. I just hate the government and corporate America.
Oh my goodness. Why do you hate corporate America?
So my biggest thing is I have a problem with authority. I just truly don't like anyone telling me what to do. And this is some shit I had some self-realization. I just don't like anyone telling me what to do. And I know that corporate America has a certain structure that they want to abide by. So when I go work for, when I worked for companies, it wasn't Frank's company, it was ABC
and your company,
Acme Incorporated. And so I had to do what they wanted me to do. Well, now that I'm working for myself, it's me. I'm the boss. I'm telling myself what I need to do, what I need to happen. And that was something that I wanted.
But do you still answer to someone?
I answered to my motherfucker. Excuse me. Yes.
You still do answer to someone,
Yes, I still
whether
answer
you
to
realize
people.
it or not,
Yes,
right?
I do.
And even employees that you hire or contractors that you bring in, you still want them to go and do things the way that you want them to do it, right?
You're right. So
you're,
and that's
you're
like
a corporation.
Said, right. I am the corporation now.
Yeah.
And so I get to tell people what I want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be told what to do, but I can tell motherfuckers what to do. I got you.
That works for Frank. Yeah.
That works for me.
That works for Frank. Not receiving instruction, but giving instruction.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's it takes all kinds. It really does.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that anybody that is in corporate America, I don't have a problem. I encourage them. Whereas a year or two ago, I was like, y'all need to leave corporate America. No, I encourage people to say, hey, live your dream. Don't live my dream. Live your dream. And
yeah. And that's important, because I think a lot of times, especially when we become business owners, you get so excited about being a business owner that you want everybody to be business owners. Mm-hmm. Right. And then you have to realize that that's not everybody's ministry. That is not, that everybody is not going to be able to make it in business ownership. Right. We have, like you say, sometimes there are rules and regulations, and even just the drive that it takes a lot of discipline. Yeah. And so I times get hard, and then you still have to keep pushing, and it gets really easy to want to just give up and say, you know what, let me just go get a job, because sir, we all have those days.
I was in my feelings last night. Jay texted me last night. I was like, I was in my feelings. So I understand. And that was in my mindset. Like, you know what, maybe I just need to go to Indeed and see.
Well, then they're gonna watch this interview and they're gonna be like, he hates us anyway. No, I'm just playing.
Right. And they'll be like, and I'll be like, yeah, you're right, I do. So I don't know if you really want to hire me, because I may just try to build up enough money to go back on my own again. But
you know what? But I would say I would use that to your. So my thing would be, use that to your benefit. So in terms of the fact that you don't like answering, like having to answer to someone, means that you're very inquisitive and you like to be able to determine direction. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's obviously some type of managerial position, or that's some type of leadership position. So even putting yourself in a position where you can use your natural gifts and talents that can come through in what you do. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not just being able to say, okay, this is my job and I got to find a job. It's, that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people to understand that. And then also giving you direction, because I've had people that have read my book that end up reading it and I'm like, dang, you know what? I think I want to be a business owner, and this is the area that I want to focus on. Mm-hmm. Because you have to learn more about yourself. And trust me, it wasn't easy even writing it.
That's awesome.
Talk that talk. Listen to her trying to minister to Frank.
Hey, and actually I will tell you this. So it actually talks about resume writing from a sports perspective. So I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge football fan, if you haven't already figured that out. And I make a lot of correlations with that, and which is why it actually is, it has me doing my bootleg Heisman on the back. So on the back cover, it has me doing my bootleg Heisman in heels. So you try doing a Heisman in heels on carpet.
Oh man! So I know you focus mostly on students, right? But
and
you
professionals.
Also work with professionals that are like they're working, they're in a career, and they're like stuck. Like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. What should I do? How do you help them transition?
So a lot of what I do now, it's not the individual consultations that I used to do in the past. A lot of what I do now, we go in through like the employee resource groups, or sometimes through organizations, and they'll bring us in and say, hey, we want somebody to come in and do something on, let's say, for example, so we'll do trainings on like topics like emotional intelligence implicit and explicit bias, communicating, enhancing the communication within the workplace, and then do team buildings and things like that. But within that process, what I want is people to take autonomy and also to be more strategic about navigating their career, because far too often we just kind of fall into our careers and let stuff happen to us, right? No one tells us that we need to manage our career. We just fall into it, and then we just, oh, I got a promotion, now I'm gonna do this. Oh, now this happened, so I'm gonna do that, right? And that's how we usually navigate our careers, rather than saying, okay, who am I? Where do I want to be? And who do I need to communicate with in order to get there? And so whether that even involves the networking, or using another session that we do is either you're networking or not working. So talking about using networking to be able to navigate your career path. And so giving them strategies that they can actually integrate and utilize within their current lives to be able to make sure that they're, one, being valued within their organizations, and then also the companies see the value as well, because a lot of times organizations, we manage the way we seen it done, and oftentimes managers are not always grown. Sometimes people are just promoted into management. And so if they haven't had very effective managers, then the leadership that they give will align with that as well. And so it doesn't encourage the most managers that actually have that demonstrate their care for your career. And so it takes a lot for that.
So I have a question for you. Do you deal with felons? And if so, how do you help felons get into corporate America?
So I haven't directly dealt with felons. I haven't directly had to. So none of the organizations that I've dealt with have related to that. In terms of individuals, I've helped some individuals in the past, and we've talked about, the challenges that they've had. I had a guy once who had some things in his youth, and who did the time for the crime and came back, and so we talked about how to be able to, okay, how do we interview past this? What do we do? What kind of things can we do to be able to enhance the image that you have, and even help companies to understand, look, this was in my youth. This was something that I did in my youth. Now I've been able to learn. Now I've been able to identify these things about myself. And these are the ways that I've been able to grow. And these are the areas that I know that I excel in. And this is what I bring to this position, right? And so don't focus on this over here that I've done in the past. I want you to focus on where I'm going in the future. So help to.
What would you so in an interview, what would you tell a felon to say? Because a lot of these felons are young folks who may have had any type of felony on their hand, whether it be some type of rinky-dink felony that the government has said that is a felony, or it could be something that's big. So what do you say to the people who've had some type of felony that is really not a big deal, but it's considered a felony in the eyes of the law, of criminal justice? What would you tell them to say in an interview?
So pretty much like along the lines of what I just talked about, just, in terms of focusing on the future and focusing on, look, I've this happened in the past, taking accountability, because you do have to take accountability. But now that I know better, I do better. And now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on my future and where I want to be. It's not about making excuses for the past or anything like that. Things happen, right? We all have life. And furthermore, have you heard of a lady named Martha Stewart who now has sponsorships again? She did time. Right. And so there is definitely ways to come back from that, and don't focus on or allow other people to focus on that aspect for you. And so I would also say that it's not just about getting in that entry, that job because a lot of like I don't want to call particular segments out. A lot of what the former felons do is they try to go get the first thing they can find, which is usually that low hanging fruit. But by getting some education, getting some experience behind your belt, or getting some, being able to show, because I know here in Houston, and I'm located in Houston, Texas, we have different programs that can help you to be able to pursue different educational things and find programs that are aligned with that. And then there are also companies. You can do a Google search, go to University of Google and ask University of Google, what companies allow you to have felons in fill in the blank city, right? And so, or what companies encourage, people to apply that may have had felons, or Google that, so there are a lot of things that they can do to be able to, and even building relationships, and sitting down with people for informational interviews, talk to people that are real.
Yeah.
And you can have a one-on-one and with somebody such as yourself to say, hey, where do I go? Where do I start? And then also realizing that your network is your net worth. And so helping to expand opportunities for them by introducing them to other people. And as you hear about opportunities, or as you hear about jobs and stuff like that, always keeping that in the forefront of your mind as well.
Hey, just a quick reminder that if you're liking this podcast, please hit the subscribe and like buttons, and also rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. Thank you. So Juanita, I want to get one last thing with you. I know the focus has been on the employees, and preparing them for, transitioning in jobs and moving their careers. So do you also work with actual employers with, training and helping them retain their staff and increase morale, things of that nature?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do through our training. So by helping you to tap into and to be more strategic about helping you to navigate your career, it also in turns helps to be able to make the company more productive, because what better employee can I have than somebody that I can promote? Right. And if I'm now taking a stance where, okay, now I'm more active and more strategic in navigating my career, which means that I'm not going to be coming in late anymore. I'm going to be concerned about my output, because I want you to know this is what I've done. These are the contributions that I've made within my role. Right. And then at that point, I'm more intentional about doing my job more effectively, which will increase our numbers, our productivity, and only looks better for both of us. And then, hey, let's talk about promotions. Let's talk about where I am currently and where I hope to be within the next 2 to 3 years.
What I always think about when I'm at a job and I'm working, when I'm thinking about maybe leaving, it's not so much because of the job itself, but maybe the manager I'm working for or management. It's usually we leave jobs because of people we work for have to deal with rather than the job itself. So I think it's important that you also work with like the managers and the management teams to help them foster the relationship they have with their employees to keep their employees, because the job could be fine, it could be great pay, but if my boss is an asshole, I can't be there.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
Absolutely. People don't leave companies, they leave people.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of, and that's what we focus on, especially with managers. I actually have a client that I've previously done a training for that is located in Kansas City or based out of Kansas City, and that we're talking about doing something for their managers specifically for that. And also, I would say another area that's very important for management to deal with is that implicit and explicit bias, because sometimes those biases that we have can hinder our ability to see someone's contribution and we don't even realize it. Right. And so until that bias goes addressed, oftentimes it makes it difficult for us to be able to move past that and to be able to say, oh, okay, wow, I can see the contribution that this individual has made, because all we're doing is finding reasons to not promote them.
I think that comes with a bit of the systemic racism that we deal with too.
Yeah, especially geographically, depending on what area you're from. Oh my goodness, it can be huge. It can be very big. So
I think we had just had somebody on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine that's she's a trainer for the corporate America, and she was saying that she tries to teach the companies not to even look at names
yeah,
on when they're looking at a resume
or
because
colleges.
exactly. I think, didn't she say colleges too, Jay?
She might have.
Because a lot of times that's what, and I'll tell you, as a recruiter, I had that initially when I was trained, and I won't put the person on blast, but when I was trained in recruiting, I was
Blast
told
their ass.
I was told something
Blast their
similar.
ass.
They were like, if the name is too ghetto, don't even call them, because they're likely not going to align with what we're looking for. And I was like, well, how do you know that just by the name? And of course, you know, my rebellious, but I'm gonna call people, and which is why I ended up having the best placements. I had the most short-term, long-term temp to hire fills for the staffing agencies. My clients were happiest, right? Because instead of looking at all of those things that you're saying that this person is not a fit because of, I'm able to look around that and playing it the other way. But those biases, especially with colleges, can come into play. Depending on what. So I graduated from Appalachian State, and back in the day, no one knew where that was. But of course, now with the football program, a lot of times people are
They just played NC, didn't they? UNC.
Don't get me started.
And almost won.
Don't get me started.
No defense.
We should have won that game. Should have won. Please don't get me started.
Don't get started, Jay.
Yeah, so we should have won that game on several different occasions. I don't know where we went in the second, third, and the early part of the fourth quarter. Was like, sorry, let me focus.
I'm sorry.
Trying to distract me now.
Hey, you say you like football. Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right?
Yes. And so that is, and so I brought that up for a reason. I had a Caucasian classmate that graduated around the same time that I did as well. And she was like, I can't find jobs because no one will give me opportunities because I graduated from App. Okay, that's because of how you selling it, right? Because even when I moved out here, Appalachian still hadn't done all of the things that that they have, or hadn't gotten the notoriety that they have currently. But then shortly thereafter they did, but at that time they didn't. And so when people would ask, oh, what college did you graduate from? It's all in how you sell it. So you can either sell this junior Whopper, or you can sell this steak. And so, I don't give people reasons. And that was one of the things that when I moved here, I was in my mid-20s, and I was, I looked young, and I was oftentimes applying for roles or contract roles that more senior HR executives were in. And so oftentimes when people would see me, they'd be like, oh, she's young. But by the time we left that interview, they'd be like, oh man, can you start tomorrow? So I'm going to give you, I'm not going to allow you to have reasons why you shouldn't hire me. I'm going to give you every reason that you should.
You got to sell yourself. You got to always be selling yourself. That's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
Well, Juanita, we sure appreciate you coming out. It's been a great conversation. We may have to have you come back again to talk about some more career stuff and help Frank get a job. But
fuck that shit.
So they see this podcast and be like,
right. Hey, Frank ain't getting hired no more.
Never hire him. He's just gonna quit as soon as he get his first check. That first 3 weeks check.
That's like on Everybody Hates Chris. His mom.
The mom.
Like,
my
husband got 3 jobs.
Right.
So Juanita, where can people find you? I know I've connected with you on LinkedIn, but where else can they find you? They want to reach out.
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. We got to get back on there, as well as Facebook. So we're all at Regional Consult for all of our social media. And then on LinkedIn, Juanita Hines. I also post tips and also share information for job seekers that may be looking, or networking things and scholarships. And that's the one thing, if I had to tell my younger self, I know y'all coming for that question at the end, I would tell my younger self to apply for scholarships, and then to also push myself and don't allow any perceived biases or areas that people can use against me to hinder me. Because if you demonstrate the value that you have, they can't stop you even if they want to. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
And that was the Hey Young World segment, but people, she already knew it was coming, so she jumped in beforehand. So we appreciate that. So I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you. I think Frank's going to pass on the last word tonight. So we're just going to leave it at that. So again, Juanita Hines, we'll have your socials all in the show notes so people can see that as well.
And they can find my book on Amazon. So
don't forget, what's the name of the book again? What's the name of it? Point to it again.
It's Master Your Career Playbook Resumes.
There you go. Plug.
Nice. Go get it.
And we want to hear your testimonies. So I want to hear how it worked for you. I want to hear those. I love to hear those. I get so many of those, or people like, girl, let me tell you what happened. Okay. I love it.
Hey, it worked for me. It worked for me. I will be a testimony right now. It worked for me.
Oh.
And she's an AKA, y'all.
Oh, there you go. He's fired. Ooh. And that's right in the background, too. Ooh.
He's being funny.
Ooh.
He's being funny.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's football time.
I know you will recognize this Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
But no shade to our sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
Can we always get along? Can we just
Yeah.
always get along?
We do.
Nice.
Sisters and brothers. With that, Juanita, thank you. Big Frank.
Yeah.
Lil J.
Peace out, y'all. Let's move on.